Remember too, there's a video of us working through examples from each section on the. Okay. All right. So what we are starting on today is going to be what we're doing in quarter 2. So today's homework is your first homework that goes into quarter 2. All right. So today is kind of our little intro lesson into the next unit, which is on rational functions. A rational function can have something that's called a horizontal asymptote. Okay, and it's going to approach it at its ends. Okay, and then vertical asymptotes are going to be lines that are up and down that your graph can't cross. So first thing we're going to do is draw the parent function. So go at the top here, y equals 1 over x. And then for this graph, you are going to have horizontal and vertical asymptotes. The horizontal asymptote is going to run across the x-axis. And the vertical asymptote is going to be on the y-axis. So what that means is you can't touch those lines. Okay? I'm going to give you 2 marker points that I want your graph to touch. The first one is 1, 1. And then -1, -1. Okay, and then your graph is going to get really close to those asymptotes, but it shouldn't actually technically cross them. So from this dot that you drew right here, get really close going up, and then really close going out to the side. And then another one here, really close going down, really close going out to the side. Okay, this is the first parent graph that we're covering that doesn't hit 0, 0. Okay? All right, so now that you know what the parent graph looks like, let's draw a couple examples starting with number 1. Okay, first thing you should notice is that your x on the bottom has a -2. Okay, we already covered all of these rules, none of them change. The number that is with x is going to shift your graph left or right. If it's a -2, do you remember which way it's going to shift it? To the right, because remember, it's a trick, because it's with your x. So we're going to go to the right 2, and then the +1 is going to shift it up 1. So on your graph, you're going to go to the right 2, up 1. And that is going to be your new origin. And then you're going to draw in your asymptotes. So you're going to have a flat line going this way, and then a vertical line going this way. And remember, those are your guiding lines that you cannot cross. So we went to the right 2, we went up 1, and then we're going to draw in the little pieces of our graph. Remember, you're going to hit this dot and this dot, and you're going to get really close to your lines. Yes?
All right.
Yes. Yeah, you can. I'm just not going to look at it for your extra credit.
Okay.
Okay, and then down this way and over this way. Okay, ideally those lines wouldn't be crossed, but obviously you can only do your best. Okay, but it's this piece and then this piece. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Which way is the +5 going to shift the graph? Left or right?
Left.
Left, and then which way for the 3?
Right. Down.
-3 would be down. Yep. So go to the left 5, down 3. And then that's where your new big plus sign is that you're going to have to not touch. So it'd be here and here. Okay. Then remember, you want to hit your corners, and then you're going to draw your line in, getting really close to those sides, but not touching. So here and here, close up, close out, close down, close out. Okay. Now, the other thing that you should be able to do for those graphs is identify your horizontal and vertical asymptotes. Your horizontal asymptote is going to be ahoy. And your vertical asymptote is going to be written as a VUX. And so if you don't remember what those stand for, HOI is horizontal, okay, and then VUX is vertical. So let's say that we're doing this graph that we just did here. Where is your horizontal line? How low did we go? 3, so it'd be y equals -3. And remember, that's the line that the graph can't touch. Okay, then my vertical line is a VUX, so I would be giving the x. What's the x if I went this way 5? What would my x be that I can't touch? -5, that's right. Okay. All right, we got one more like that. Okay, we have an x -4 on the bottom, a +5 to the side. Which way are we going, left or right? -4 would be to the right, and then the +5 would be out. So you go to the right 4, up 5. Draw in your little plus sign. Okay, remember, those are your asymptotes that you can't touch. And then you're going to draw in your 2 little corner dots and then just get really, really close to your lines without touching them. So 1 here, close up, close out, close down, close out. Okay, and they don't have to look perfect. Okay, but that's what your sketch should look like. Okay, then write your asymptotes. So remember, horizontal asymptote should be a HOI. What should I let my y equal? How high is my flat line? 5 is correct. And then for my VUX, where is my x line that I can't touch? What x? 4, correct. Get the idea? All right, so the first part of your homework, you're literally just shifting that graph around. Very similar, all the rules are the same from what we did on your other parent functions. So go ahead and turn a page. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is called points of discontinuity. Okay, a discontinuity is going to be any value of x that causes the denominator of a fraction to equal 0. A denominator to equal 0. Okay, and there are 2 different types that we're going to talk about in this unit. The first type is a whole. So I want you to draw a graph similar to the one that we just did, but I want you to just skip one little spot and leave a hole. Okay, anytime that you get a divide by 0, it might be creating a hole. Now, in the calculator, you will not be able to see that in the graph because it's literally just one tiny little pixel that's missing. Okay, where you will be able to see it is in the table. So you're going to see an error in the chart. Okay, but it will be very hard to see in your graph because it's literally just one little pixel that gets skipped over. Okay, the other type is a vertical asymptote. Okay, and a vertical asymptote, redraw the same picture that you just drew. Okay, the vertical asymptote is the line that you can't touch right here. Okay, and that is going to be visible in the graph. And it's going to be an error in the chart. Okay. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a little bit. Okay, so here are your steps because 90% of your homework, you're finding the holes and the asymptotes. Step number 1 is you have to be able to factor. Okay, now you just took a test over this last class. We'll review the different types. Okay, but if you don't know how to factor, you're going to have a really hard time doing homework for the next 2 weeks. Okay, after you factor, you're going to look for stuff that cancels out. those create holes in the graph. Anything left over in the top of the fraction creates x-intercepts. And anything left over in the bottom of the fraction creates vertical asymptotes. Okay. So that being said, let's do number one. Most of your examples in this notes, half of the fraction is already factored for you just to kind of shorten them up. So when you look at your first fraction here, which part is already broken up into parentheses, the top or the bottom? Which part's already done for you? Top or bottom? Top. I already have an x plus 3 and an x minus 1. So I want you to put a little check mark there. I don't have to fix the top. The top is done for me. I am going to have to fix the bottom. Here are your types for factoring in case you forgot. AC chart, GCF, perfect square roots, and grouping. Okay, we're not going to write that list every time, but you have it there for the rest of the notes. So looking at the bottom of that, can you tell me which type of factoring would apply if it's x squared minus 9? It is perfect squares. Very good. So this is going to be perfect square roots. What is the square root of x squared?
X.
Okay, x. So I'm going to give an x and another x. And then what's the square root of 9?
3.
3. And remember, you give one of them a plus 3, one of them a minus 3. All right, now for the top, remember, it was already done for me. So I had an x plus 3. I'm just copying this from what was there, and an x minus 1. Okay, now that it is factored, look at step 2. We're going to cancel out any repeats. So what factor is both present on the top and the bottom? The x plus 3. Cross it out. X plus 3 crosses out. That means that there is a hole in the graph at negative 3. Now, any x's left over on the bottom are going to create vertical asymptotes. So I see that I have an x minus 3 left over. That means that x equals 3 is my vertical asymptote. And you should remember that these numbers are always the opposite of what was in the parentheses. Okay, so this one creates the hole. Because it crossed out, this one creates the vertical asymptote. Okay? Now, the x that is left over on the top creates an x-intercept. So the x-intercept is going to be at what number if I have an x minus 1 left over? Positive 1. So put x equals 1. All right, from here, your homework is not going to allow you to just find the x value for the whole. It's going to want you to write it as an ordered pair. So if I know my x is a negative 3, it's negative 3 comma something. And then to find the rest of that point, you're going to plug into the calculator, okay, which I'm going to show you how to do right now. So you're only going to put the parts of the equation that didn't cross out. So what I mean by that is when I go into my calculator, I'm going to push y equals, and then I'm only going to type the parts of this that don't cross out. So in this case, it'd be an x minus 1 over an x minus 3. Okay? So let's do that, and then let's fill in our ordered pairs. So go into your calculator, hit the y equals button. Okay, and then hit alpha x to open up your fancy fraction. Okay, alpha x. Then you're going to type in x minus 1 on top, x minus 3 on bottom. Okay, once you have that, you're going to hit second graph, and you're going to look in the table and just find the partners. Okay, so it's an x minus 1 on top and x minus 3 on bottom. Everybody good? All right, here we go. Second graph. I'm looking for -3's partner in the chart. Okay, so -3 does go with 2/3. Now, the other points that you're going to be asked to find are the other half of the x-intercept. And I already know my x. What's my x going to be for the x-intercept? A 1. So it's 1 comma something. And then I'm just going to look in the chart for what 1's partner is. So can you do that, please? At 1, what's the y value? 0. Okay, and then for your y-intercept, okay, if you don't know this already, your y-intercept, your x is always a 0. So you're essentially just looking for 0's partner. And you're going to still find that in the chart. So I find 0's partner, it's what? 1/3. Okay, so the first part of it, you're going to have to factor. Okay, but then the second part of it, you're going to use the calculator. Okay, go ahead and turn the page when you're ready. Okay, on the next page, we're looking at another, these are all going to be fractions. Which part of the fraction is already done for you on number 2? The top or the bottom? Okay, the bottom's already done. Put a little check mark. Okay, the bottom's good to go, but the top we're going to have to fix. What type of factoring will I do? Let me go back to my list here. Okay, I have an x squared plus 3x minus 10. It is AC chart, very good, because it has 3 parts. So label your ABC. Remember, top of the chart is going to be A times C, which is a 1 in the front times a -10. What are the factors I could get that would times to 10? 1 times 10 or 2 times 5. What is my B in the middle? What number? 3. Then which of those numbers are going to give me 3 when I subtract? 2 and 5. Now, when I place the minus, I want to put it on the 2 side so that my 3 comes out positive. So here are my factors for the top. I'm doing a -2, a +5, and then remember, the bottom was already done for me. I didn't have to do the bottom. I see that it's a 3x and an x minus 2. Okay, you're looking for the repeat. Repeats create holes. So what's going to cross out because it's repeated top and bottom? If -2's cross out, the hole is at +2. Very good. So x equals 2 or 2 comma something. And then remember, I'm going to use the calculator to find the y value that goes with that. Okay, so that's the hole. Are there any x's left over still on the bottom? Yes or no? Any x's left on bottom? We have a 3x, and anytime an x is on the outside, that means that my vertical asymptote is going to happen at 0. Okay, remember, x is on the outside, always give you 0. So put x equals 0. Okay, this was x equals 2. And then remember, any x's left on top create x-intercepts. So my x-intercept is going to be at what x if it's a +5 left in the equation? -5, very good. And then we'll write it as -5 comma something. Okay, then remember to pull the y values that goes with those, I need the calculator. I'm going to type in y equals and then only the parts of the equation that did not cross out. So for example, on top, I'll have an x + 5 left over. On bottom, I'll have a x. Okay, and then remember, you want the fancy fraction when you type it in. So go to y equals. Remember, it's alpha x to open the fancy fraction. And then you're going to type that equation in. So it should look like this. We're doing alpha x, x + 5 over 3x. Okay, and then from there, you're just looking up partners. So the first partner I'm looking for is 2's partner. 2's partner is 7/6. Okay, the next partner that we want is -5's partner. So I'll just have to scroll for a minute. -5 goes with 0. And then remember that the y-intercept is always 0's partner. So I can just look that up in the table and it goes with an error. Now let's talk about why did I get an error? Because I have a vertical asymptote at 0. And remember what that means if I have a vertical asymptote is that my graph can't touch 0 anyways. Can't touch x equals 0. That's why we got this error here. Okay, so if your graph can't touch a particular number, then you can't look up the partner for it in the chart because it's going to give you a 0 in this. Make sense? All right, go ahead and look at the next one. I believe on the next question, we're going to have to factor the top and the bottom. So take a look at the top. All right, take a look at the top. What type of factoring are we going to do for the top of the next question? It is going to be perfect squares, but I'm going to have to do something first.
Yeah.
GCF, very good. So go ahead and put GCF divide by 2. Okay, both of those are even, which means I need to divide that 2 out of the way. So my 2x squared is now a 1x squared. What's 98 divided by 2? 49. And then remember that the 2 that you're dividing out, you're just going to put it in the front. Now, that's still not done. I have an x squared and a minus. That means I can break it down again. We're going to do perfect squares. What's the square root of x squared? It would just be x and x, right? And then what's the square root of 49? 7. Remember, one of them's a plus, the other one's a minus. So for the top, I had to GCF at first, perfect squares at second. Now let's do the bottom. What type of factoring will we do on the bottom? AC chart. Because it's got an A, a B, and a C, right? So put your A, B, C. Okay, we're going to do 1 times minus 14 is minus 14. And then my basement number is a positive 5. Then you're going to list out all the ways that you could times to 14. I could do 1 times 14 or 2 times 7. Which of those will minus to give me 5? 2 and 7. Very good. Now I want to keep the 5 positive, so I'm going to put the minus on the 2 side. So for the bottom here, my numbers are going to be x minus 2 and x plus 7. Okay, now that you have the whole thing broken down, we're looking for the holes. Remember, holes come from the parts that cross out. So if I have a plus 7 top and bottom, that's going to leave a hole in the graph at -7. And then we're going to write that as -7 comma something. We'll look up the y value in the table. Vertical asymptotes come from x's left over on the bottom. I have an x minus 2 left on bottom. Where is my vertical asymptote going to happen at? Positive 2. Very good. And remember, those are going to be errors in the table. Okay, so I'll put here error. Okay, my x-intercept is an x left on top. I have a -7 left on top, then I know the x-intercept's at +7 or 7 comma something. And then my y-intercept is whatever 0's partner is, and we'll just look that up in the chart. So these three things are going to come from your calculator. Okay? When you type it in, it's y equals. We're only going to put the parts that did not cross out. So on top, I had a 2 and an x minus 7. On bottom, I had an x minus 2. All right, so go ahead and type that in. Okay, I'm going to come around. If you're having issues with your calculator, let me know. Okay, but you're hitting alpha x in your y equals. Okay, so y equals alpha x. And then you would two parentheses on top. Anybody need help getting a fraction? Yes. Oh, yeah. Let's go to it later. For now, yeah. Okay. Question about this or total? So yeah. That's not the right X. You want to use the X button. What is that? The times though? I delete the little star. Oh, I don't. So here, clear out the bottom and clear. So on top, type a 2 parentheses. X and then minus what was it? 7. Yes. And then on bottom, yeah. Yeah. All right, can y'all just give me the answers? What was -7's partner? It was 7. Okay, what was +7's partner? Huh? So it was 2x minus 7, x minus 2. Ugh. Yes. Okay, so we said -7's partner. I got 28/9. 2x minus 7 over x minus 2. Can y'all check your y equals? You put your x. It doesn't matter. If it's in parentheses, it shouldn't change. So wait, are y'all getting this or no? Okay. If you didn't get the 28 over like what I got, then you did something wrong. So we got to find out what that is. So it should be 28/9. Okay. Then for +7, your y value should be 0. And then for 0, your y value should be 7. Okay, if those aren't correct, then we got to just see what you're doing wrong before we switch to homework. Okay, also, can I point out to you, what do I get at 2 when I have a vertical asymptote and I can't touch it? Error. That should always happen. Wherever your vertical asymptote is, you should see an error in the chart. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. 2 more left. 2 more left. Almost done. All right, this one, the bottom's already done for us. Put a little check. Okay, bottom's good to go. Top needs to be fixed. What can I take out of both terms on top for a GCF? 4 and x. Very good. So the 4x is going to come out. My 4x3 is now just an x2. Notice the 4 is gone because I pulled it out. For the minus 4x, you have to leave something. So if you're taking all of the 4x out, leave a minus 1 as a placeholder. Okay, that is not done. X squared minus can break down again. What's the square root of x squared? X, what's the square root of 1? Still 1. So it'd be 4x, x plus 1, and x minus 1. Okay? But then the bottom of that was already done for us, so I can just kind of copy it over. All right, we're looking for something to cross out. What will cross out? And if minus 1's cross out, where will the whole be at? Positive 1. So put x equals 1 or 1 comma something. Vertical asymptotes come from x's left over on the bottom. Will I have one? I have an x left over on bottom with a what? With a +2, so I'm going to switch it to a -2, correct? Okay, then my x-intercepts come from x's left on top. Question, how many x's are left on top? 2. Then I'm going to have 2 x-intercepts. The x on the outside gives me what answer? 0. Remember, x on the outside means 0. And I have an x with a +1. That means -1. So for your x-intercepts, you're actually going to need to find 2 partners in the chart. It would be 0 comma something and -1 comma something. Okay, because there are 2 x's left on the top, that means you're going to have 2 x-intercept answers. Okay, then remember your y-intercept answer is always 0's partner. Okay? When we go to the calculator, remember we're going to type the parts of the equation that did not cancel. So in your calculator, go to y equals. You're going to alpha x to open your pretty fraction. Okay, you're going to put 4x parentheses x plus 1 on top and an x plus 2 on bottom. So it should look just like that. Okay, and then in the chart, you're just looking up those y values that go with it. But you're typing in all the pieces that did not cross out. So let's do it in the chart. Second graph, I'm looking for 1's partner. I see it goes with an 8/3. I'm looking for 0's partner. I see it goes with 0. And then I'm looking for -1's partner, and I see that that also goes with 0. Okay? Questions on that? All right, we got one more left. Last one. Okay, take a look at number 5. We're going to have to factor top and bottom. Let's start with the top. What can I take out of 4x squared minus 20x? This is going to be a GCF. A 4 and an x. Very good. So my 4x is going to come out. Out of the 4x squared, now it's just a regular x. What about the 20x? It'd be 5. Very good. Okay, specifically, it's going to be a -5 because it was a minus on the 20. Okay, now let's do the bottom. What can I take out of the bottom? Just an x. Very good. Remember, sometimes there's a number. Okay, but sometimes it's just a letter. So my x is going to come out. That's going to leave me with a regular x and a -6. Okay? Now we're looking for stuff that can cross out. What do I have, top and bottom, that I can cancel out? an X. Now, I can't cancel out the 4, but these X's on the outside can still take each other out. And remember, if there's an X on the outside, what answer goes with that? Very good. Okay, X is outside means X equals 0 for your whole. So it'd be 0 comma something. Okay, I'm looking for vertical asymptotes. Those come from X's on the bottom that do not cross out. So what X on the bottom did not cross out? Okay, then my vertical asymptote is going to be at X equals positive 6. Okay, X-intercepts come from X's left over on the top. Do I have an X left over on the top? I have an X with a -5, which means it's going to be at X equals positive 5. And then we'll change that to a 5 comma something. Okay, for your Y-intercept, remember that's always 0's partner. And then we're looking up those Y values in our calculator. Okay? When you type into your calculator, remember you're only putting the parts that didn't cross out. So that would be Y equals in the calculator a 4X minus 5 on top and an X minus 6 on bottom. Okay, but you wouldn't put the X's outside because they crossed each other out. And then remember, it's alpha X to open the fancy fraction. Okay, so once you have that typed in, you're hitting second graph. I'm looking for 0's partner. I see that it's 10/3. I'm looking for 5's partner, and it's a 0. Now notice, what is 6's partner? Why is it an error? Because I can't touch 6 because I have a vertical asymptote at that X, right? Okay, and then for the last one, I want 0's partner, and do you remember that was 10/3? Okay, but this is important. If you have a hole in the graph at 0, 10/3, you cannot actually cross the Y-intercept there. So I'm going to put none because hole at 0, 10/3. Okay, remember what I told you, that if it's a hole, that pixel is missing. So it doesn't actually count as a Y-intercept if that specific spot, that pixel doesn't count on the graph. So if you have a hole, that can't also be an X or a Y-intercept because that point doesn't count on the graph. Okay? All right, so I think we'll do maybe one off the homework together and then you'll have the rest of the class to work. Okay, so go ahead and pull out your Chromebooks for me. Go ahead and get logged into Delta Math. All right, y'all should be able to see it now. All right, y'all want some paper? Molly, you want some paper? Yeah.
Well, it has to be that.
All right, we're switching to homework, okay? You took it? You got? That's what we rock it. All right, go ahead and pull up the first question. I want you to try to factor it. Okay, top and bottom. Okay, remember for this homework, it's either going to be GCF, perfect squares, or AC chart. Okay, pretty much for the whole thing. So this is the first question. Okay, so taking a look at the top there, what type of factoring could we do? All right, come on, y'all. Take a look at the top. Can I GCF it? Yes or no? What do they have in common? Nothing. Okay, can I AC chart it? It has to be square roots. Very good. Square root x squared, what do I get? An x and an x. And then the 1 is going to go to a plus and a minus 1. Okay, take a look at the bottom. Hello. Hi. I do. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Fine. All right, on the bottom, what can I do there? I can't perfect squares it. I could square root 9, but I can't square root 30. GCF, what can I take out of both? An x and? Can they both divide by 3? So I'm going to take out a 3x. So my 3x comes out. My 9x squared is going to go to a 3x. What's going to happen to my minus 30x when I divide it by 3x? 10. Very good. Okay. First question, is anything going to cross out? No. So this is going to have nothing cancels. Then that means that I have no holes. Now, look at the instructions. Is it asking you to find holes for this question? What does it ask us to find? Vertical asymptotes. And where are the vertical asymptotes? Look on your notes. Are they the top x's or the bottom x's? Bottom x's. So your vertical asymptotes are going to be the x's left on bottom. And for all of these first questions, you're finding vertical asymptotes. So how many x's are left on the bottom since nothing crossed out? 2. Very good. So in your drop-down menu, you're going to click 2 vertical asymptotes because I have 2 x's that are left on the bottom. Okay, so go to 2. Then it's going to give you 2 little blanks to type your answers in. Okay, what do I put for the x that's left on the outside? 0. Type in x equals 0. Okay, you do have to type the x equals or it'll count it wrong. Okay, then my other x that was left on bottom is right here. It's a minus 10. What do I switch it to? Plus 10. And then do you remember if there's a number on the x, you just slide it down to the bottom. So this one would give me x equals 10 thirds. Okay, the minus 10 switches to a plus 10, and then you slide the 3 back down to the bottom. So that would be your answer. X equals 0 and x equals 10 thirds. Okay, just like that. Questions on that? All right, so for the vertical asymptotes, that's what you're doing. You're looking for the x's that are left over on the bottom, but you have to factor first. Okay, we're going to do one more question together from the holes section. Okay, so in your little question list, go to second from the bottom. Okay, second from the bottom. So this was for vertical asymptotes. Now we're going to find holes. So it's 2x squared plus 11x plus 5 over 3x plus 15. Okay, let's do the bottom first just because it looks easier. What could I do on the bottom? AC chart, perfect squares, or GCF? GCF, what can I divide out of both? Divide by 3. So 3 comes to the front. My 3x is just an x. My 15 is now a 5. So 3 on the outside, x plus 5 left over. Okay, for the top, what am I going to have to do? AC chart, very good. So label your ABC. Let's set up our little chart. Air conditioner in the top, basement on bottom. AC is 2 times 5, which is 10. My basement number is an 11. What will multiply to 10 and add to 11? 1 and 10. Now, you would also have partners 2 and 5, but since those don't add to the right thing, it's if you can see the partners right away, you don't have to write a complete list. Okay, from here, question. Will my x's just be x plus 1 and x plus 10? No, here's why. If I have x plus 1 and x plus 10, I still have to divide and slide over what a? 2. Remember, if your a is a 1, you're done. But if you have a number in this spot, you have to divide and slide over that. So I'm going to put over 2 over 2. And the reason that that matters is that this x plus 10, once I divide it by 2, now it's an x plus 5. Okay, and then since my 1 won't divide, you remember you just slide the 2 back to the front. So it'd be a 2x plus. In this question, we are looking for holes. Remember, holes are the ones that cancel out. Do I have anything that's going to cross out? The plus 5, so it's going to be at -5. Very good. So in your calculator, or sorry, in your little browser, you're going to type -5 comma something. And then we're going to have to look up the y value in the chart to know what to put in that second spot. Okay, and then remember, in your calculator, you're only going to put the parts that didn't cross out. So for the top, we're going to put in a 2x plus 1. And on the bottom, we're going to put in just a 3. Like that. So I have a 2x plus 1 left on top, a 3 on bottom, then you're just going to look up the number that goes here. Got it? Okay, go ahead and look it up. -5, the answer that I got is -3. So that's what you would type in for your homework. Okay, -5 comma -3. Now, before I set you to work for the rest of class, what if nothing canceled out? Okay, look right here. It says, if there's no hole, you're just going to push the little minus icon for no solution. Okay, you might get some where you factor the top, you factor the bottom, nothing matches. That just means you don't have one. You would just hit the minus button. Okay? All right, go ahead and get started. You can do it.
I think they filled out on Friday. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Should I tell them? Friday that. I've always had.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, they're choosing to give it to
So then that is what it is. So 5x plus 4 is the top, x minus 10 is the bottom. What are you looking for? Vert loss with totals. So then you have an x left over on the bottom. It's an x minus 10. So where would your asymptote? Yeah, x. Possible 10. Perfect. Yes. You are correct. So you'll leave that as your parentheses. Uh-huh. Bye, girls. I think maybe I do actually. You're welcome. I'll have it in a little piece too. Huh? Mm-hmm. I'd like to know on this. Oh. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. For the review, correct. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. No, sorry. Put x equals -4 would go to a +4. Just x equals. So if the x equals +4. And then x equals -1. And do you remember where that comes from? I know you've been gone for a minute, but if you have this -4 + 1 = 0, do you remember you let both of those equal 0 on their own? That's how come we switch sides. Because if I have an x -4 = 0, how do I get rid of it? And if it's a +1. So your answers should be +4 and negative. Mhm. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. So do 3x + 8 and 3x - 8. So do 3x and 3x for the first part of your parentheses. So it'll be like this.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh, because it's square root. So you'll do 1 with the +8. Then. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.